Hello, everyone. We are now deep into summer. We're deep into the true NFL offseason. We've got a new week, so I'm always open to ideas of things to discuss. But I teased this late last week that I did my X Factors, which is much different, and I explained it in that podcast. Go check it out. Against my make or break players. And a short kind of summary of the difference to me for the Steelers is X factors are more through the team's lens. You know, if I'm looking out through the team, man, if Aaron Rodgers can get back to being a top 8 quarterback, that's an X factor. But if he's a 20th quarterback, X factors of how the season can go. Where make or break players to me is more through the lens of the player and their respective career. A lot of these guys, it's like, I got to put up or shut up because the NFL moves really fast. I haven't put enough on tape that either I'm guaranteed a spot on the Steelers roster or I'm guaranteed much longer to be able to do this for a living amongst any of the 32 teams. You know what I mean? Like, the NFL is a very unforgiving wilderness. And so I didn't have any quarterbacks that were make or break. You know, they've all kind of know where they're at. Their careers are pretty safe. And I'm not going to go to the bottom of the roster dudes. You know, like I didn't dig super, super deep. That being said, I kind of did it running back, though. If you don't know, the Steelers have Evan Hull and Trice on this roster. You might remember them watching Big Ten football, Northwestern, Ohio State, respectively. They went in the mid-rounds not that long ago, but neither has stuck. I don't think either has much special teams capabilities, which makes it tough. But they have some pedigree, and maybe they show up big in camp or lead the team in preseason carries and rushes, one of those guys. Or maybe you never hear the name Evan Hull or Trice again. You know, I mean, they're to the point now where they're clinging for their NFL careers and their lives. And sometimes that goes right for the player, you know, so keep an eye on Evan Hull and Trice in the preseason, in camp, some buzz. I don't think either's going to be the long-term running back answer. And frankly, I didn't love either one coming out of school. I didn't think that they were reaches in like the 3rd, 4th round area. And it'll go a long way if they could do something strong on special teams. But they have some pedigree. Connor Hayward, to me, is almost a make or break time. I almost didn't put him on here because he's so good on special teams. And I don't care about his last name. Maybe it does help him. Who knows? But he's definitely popular in the locker room and does all the little things. But as just as an offensive player, when you were pro Connor Hayward, it was like, yeah, he can get you out of the game as a running back. He could be a fullback. He can be an inline tight end. He can be an H-back. You can move him all around. But all those things I just listed, many people are better at than him. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I can do them all at a 3 out of 10 level. Well, that doesn't help me beat the Ravens. I mean, it might get you out of a game, but I want to put better people out there. If I'm going to have a fullback, I want him to blow people into next week. If I'm going to have a tight end, I want him to be 6'5". You know what I mean? So his special team prowess is very important in this equation, no doubt, because he's one of those true core guys we talk about and is good at it. So that's great. But as an offensive player, do you do enough? There's 2 guys on this list that were also on the X Factor list, and kind of for different reasons. And I'll be a quick on those. But I put Broderick Jones on here. Like, Broderick Jones, because he's a 1st-round pick, and he's a tackle, and he's immensely talented, by no means is at a career crossroad. I mean, if he doesn't play a snap this year because of injury or he gets benched, he's still going to be in the league for a while. But it's still a crossroads period for him, too, because he was an X factor from a Steeler perspective. Boy, if he takes a step forward, this line could be really good. Where he could be Jedrick Wills, who's just floating around out there and not really sought after. Or he could be a very highly paid, more than Dan Moore type of guy. So make or break season for him, but that's kind of rough because he can't really break. He's going to be in the league. Way, way less version of that is Roman Wilson. And the only thing I say, I also had him as an X factor, because what if he steps up and is a real high quality 3 for you or something? Great. You're getting a lot out of that guy. But I put him on this list just because if you look at the wide receiver position, like look at the guys in the last 10 years that were drafted. Look at the guys that did nothing really in their rookie year. Well, the game passed them by pretty quick. Let alone if you do nothing for your first 2 years, as mentioned, really unforgiving league. Wide receivers come pumping out of the college ranks like crazy. He could easily get forgotten. If you have 2 seasons, he's not Randy Moss or Terrell Owens in terms of what he looks like, physicality, size, all those things. That if he has a washout season, people might not be talking about him for, he might just be clinging to get on a practice squad type of guy, on any team. That's just how this nasty league works. Total opposite end of the spectrum, because this guy's had a really good career. Robert Woods, if he's going to continue being a football player and wants to continue, doesn't want to retire, he needs to have a quality year, I don't even know if he's going to make the Steeler roster. I think there's some intriguingness here with Rodgers in that Woods is reliable, a professional. He knows where to be on the field, all those things, adjustments, sight adjustments, all those things. But this could be end of career Allen Robinson too, where all of a sudden it's like, I don't really have a place for you. You're not a special teamer. You're making veteran money. I'm just going to keep the rookie who's got more upside. So for Woods to continue to be a football player, again, this is through his lens. It's kind of a make or break season for him too. So, BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for all your sports betting action. With the baseball season in full swing, BetOnline has more ways to stay in on the action with the latest odds, news, and scores, even live in-game betting while the games are being played. We keep the dog days of summer rolling with the largest selection of odds on everything, with updated odds on MLB, UFC to boxing, to tennis, to NFL futures. BetOnline remains the best online source for all your sports wagering info. In between games, head over to the BetOnline Casino with all the top Vegas-style games, including poker and live casino. BetOnline, the game starts here. Okay, before we get into the defensive side, a guy like Calvin Austin was on my list last year. And he made it. Because if you rewind 1 year ago and you remember what you're thinking of Austin, you're like, I'm not sure where he's at. Kind of like a Roman Wilson situation. A lot of unknown, incomplete grade. But he was good enough last year that he made it. That doesn't mean that he's the next Antonio Brown, folks. I'm just saying he's in. He's going to be a football player for the foreseeable future. Another guy on my list last year was Isaiah Loudermilk. And I'm putting him right back on because did he improve his stock from a year ago? Maybe by 2%, 3%, barely. They gave him a contract that is not at all binding or guaranteeing him anything to bring him back on a 1-year deal in a really deep defensive line room. I would bet now that he's not going to be one of the 7, but we'll see. I guess that's kind of the way they're looking at it too. He knows things. We like him. He's getting a little better. We don't mind investing a minimal type contract in on him. But he's been in the league now a few years. And the world's going to keep spinning without him if he doesn't step up. DeMarvin Leal is another one. I thought he was starting to really turn a corner in training camp last year before his injury. I've seen so many mixed reports on this, but just seeing his body type, I think edge / outside linebacker is pretty much out of the equation, especially after Sawyer. You go 4 deep there. I think Leal is going to be much more of a movement interior piece, 5 technique, interior pass rusher and 4-man fronts, which is fine. But if I'm in nickel or dime with a 4-man front and Watt and Highsmith or Herbig on the outside, and I only got 2 guys to pick from against Joe Burrow, is Leal going to beat out Harmon, Benton, and especially Cam for one of those 2 spots? That seems like a really stretch to me. He's got a lot of ability. I mean, like before his last year at A&M, people looked at him as a potential first-round pick. His last year at A&M went not great. But we're also seeing defensive linemen coming out of A&M not produce at all at the college level. There's definitely talent there. Is there a guaranteed roster spot for him in Pittsburgh? I would definitely say no. Would a bad team, a bad defense, like Panthers a year ago, immediately pick him up and try him as a reclamation project in maybe a different scheme? Possibly. But he's now several years removed from being a, quote, prospect. And again, things move pretty quick around here. So it's probably put up or shut up time for Leal. And of some of these names, he's the one I maybe feel more confident than not that he can do enough good things to maybe stick in the league. Hey, this one's a little down the line, but Jeremiah Moon, he had a little bit of pedigree at Florida, University of Florida, has special teams background, and seems like a quality special teamer. The drafting of Sawyer really hurt his cause to make this team. I mean, they would have to keep 5 outside guys, and he'd probably be the 5th best defensive player of that group, although he's probably the best special teamer of that group. Could he bounce around on practice squads? Yeah. Would he end up... Do I think he'll make money this year as an NFL player here or elsewhere? Yeah, I do. But it could be quick-lived for Jeremiah Moon. Mark Robinson is another one. All of a sudden, really crowded inside linebacker room. He's become a major factor on special teams. He has a lot of tape out there, especially preseason tape. You know, if I'm a pro scout, whoever's in charge of the Steelers, I have grades on Robinson that I'm confident in because I've seen a lot of him play preseason, a little bit in the regular season, often due to injuries. So I would think if he doesn't make this squad, he ends up on a practice squad and an injury or 2, or an injury away from getting on the field again. But again, you're getting to this point where you're not making rookie money much longer. You're not good enough on defense. Are you one of the best special teamers in the league? Like, that's kind of the difference between him and Hayward. If you're a great special teamer, some team will probably keep you as a core special teamer. But if you're a B- special teamer and a break glass only on defense, I'll roll the dice on a roster spot with somebody else. You know what I mean? Last one I have, and you guys might disagree with me here, is Corey Trice. I think Corey Trice will be a Steeler. I still have hope for Corey Trice. I hope Corey Trice leaves camp as the clear first backup to Porter and Slay. I think all those things are possible. But, again, this is a rough wilderness, the NFL. He was a 7th round pick. He wasn't a 3rd round pick, even if people want to say, boy, he played like a 3rd round pick in college. He doesn't have a ton of tape to go off of. He's been in the league a handful of years. I mean, the average stay for an NFL player in the NFL isn't very long. He's probably already surpassed that. Is somebody going to give him a legit veteran contract if he struggles to get on the field this year or has another injury or misses half the season or something like that? Or what's what do the doctors say when they get their hands on him for a physical? You know, I mean, like going back to college, that part wasn't good. I don't know that it's a lot better now. So that's just how the league works. If you have any other names, shoot them my way. You know what I mean? I'm not looking at DK Metcalf or TJ Watt. You know what I mean? Like, they already made it. And I'm also not looking for the total bottom of the roster, undrafted free agent rookie either. But there might be another name I forgot about. Last year I think I had 5 or 6. This year I had a few more. And that's just how the league works. You have to look at it through the player's lens. Like, am I going to be able to continue to do this much longer if I have a bad year this year? Will people pay me NFL money? All right, everyone, take care.